The field of whispering corn was a wonderful place, full of soft sounds and golden light. The cornstalks, tall and graceful, would rustle their leaves together and whisper secrets to the wind. And in the very center of this field, on a post stuck deep into the warm earth, stood a scarecrow. His name was Solomon, and he was very good at his job. He would stand tall and still, his friendly painted smile and outstretched arms keeping the crows away from the delicious corn. The sun warmed his straw-stuffed shirt, and the rain washed his dusty hat. But Solomon the Scarecrow had a very peculiar problem, a secret wish he whispered only to the passing moon. Solomon longed more than anything to be scared. He watched the little field mice skittering through the stalks, their tiny hearts beating fast when a shadow passed overhead. He saw the young rabbits freeze at a sudden noise, their noses twitching with nervous energy. He even saw the crows, who would sometimes caw in alarm and flap away all at once. They all seemed to know a feeling that Solomon could only imagine. He wondered what it was like. Was it a tingly feeling? A shivery feeling? Did it make your straw stand on end? He did not know, for Solomon, who was meant to be scary, had never ever felt fear himself. One evening, as the sky turned the color of a bruised plum and the first stars began to blink awake, a small family of rabbits hopped to the edge of the field. The littlest rabbit, his fur as soft as dandelion fluff, pointed a shaky paw towards Solomon and let out a tiny whimper, hiding behind his mother. The mother rabbit gently nuzzled her baby, speaking in low, comforting tones about the nice scarecrow who watched over the field. But Solomon heard the little rabbit's frightened whimper, and for the first time, he felt a strange, hollow feeling inside his stuffed chest. It was not fear. It was loneliness. He was a thing to be scared of, but he had no one to share his days with, no one to chase away his fears, because he had none to chase. That very night, Solomon made a decision. He was going on an adventure. He was going to find a scary feeling. He carefully stepped down from his post, his straw boots making a soft shh sound on the dry soil. The whispering cornstalks seemed to wish him good luck as he walked to the very edge of the field, to where the dark, tangled line of the whispering woods began. The woods were full of strange sounds and deep shadows, the perfect place, he thought, to finally find his fright. Taking a deep breath that made the straw in his chest crinkle, Solomon stepped into the woods. The air changed instantly. It became cool and damp, smelling of old leaves and wet earth. The friendly light of the moon was broken into tiny pieces by the thick branches above, casting dancing, shifting shadows on the ground. The sounds of the field were gone, replaced by a deep, quiet hum. And then Solomon heard it. A sound, a low, rumbly, grumbly sound. It wasn't very loud, but it was a sound he had never heard before. It came from a deep, dark hollow between the gnarled roots of a very old, very large oak tree. Solomon's painted smile didn't waver, but he felt a curious sensation. Was this it? Was this the beginning of being scared? He took a step closer. The rumbly sound grumbled again, a little louder this time. Can you make a rumbly, grumbly sound? Let's hear it. Good. Solomon crept closer to the dark hollow, his straw feet making no noise at all on the mossy ground. He peered into the darkness, and there, curled into a fuzzy ball, was a little bear cub. The rumbly, grumbly sound was not a scary monster noise. It was the sound of the little bear's tummy, because the little bear was very, very hungry and had gotten lost from his mother. The little bear cub lifted his head and let out a sad, lonely little whine. He was not scary, he was scared himself. Solomon felt that strange, hollow feeling in his chest again, but stronger now. It was not fear. It was a feeling of concern. He remembered the little rabbit who was scared of him, and he understood this little bear's worry. Without thinking about being scary, Solomon did something very kind. He reached into the pocket of his old coat, a pocket that sometimes collected things from the field, and pulled out a few sweet berries that had grown nearby. He gently rolled them toward the little bear cub. The cub's nose twitched. He uncurled himself and nibbled on the berries, his grumbly tummy quieting for a moment. He looked up at Solomon with big, grateful eyes, no longer whining. Solomon's adventure hadn't found him a scary feeling, but it had found him his first friend. The little bear, feeling much better, decided to follow the kind straw man. Together, the Scarecrow and the little bear walked deeper into the whispering woods. The shadows grew longer and the sounds grew stranger. Twigs snapped somewhere unseen. The wind whistled through the pine needles, making a high, whining sound like a ghostly song. And then they saw it. Up ahead, right in the middle of the path, was a truly terrifying sight. It was a monster. A huge, round, glowing monster with one giant swirling eye. It pulsed with a pale, sickly light, and it hovered right above the ground, moving slowly from side to side as if it were looking for something to snatch with its invisible claws. The little bear cub gasped and hid behind Solomon's legs, trembling. Solomon stood very still. His painted eyes were wide. This was it. This had to be it. This was the moment he would finally feel real fear. He waited for the tingly feeling. He waited for the shivery feeling. He waited for his straw to stand on end. But as he stood there, being brave for his new little friend, he started to look more closely at the monster. It wasn't making a scary sound. It was making a soft bzzz sound, and its big swirling eye wasn't looking at them. It seemed to be dancing, and the pale glowing light wasn't a monster light at all. It was a soft, beautiful light. Solomon took a small step forward and then another. The little bear whimpered, but Solomon kept going, his curiosity now bigger than his wish for a scare. And do you know what he discovered? The huge round monster was just a big, fluffy bumblebee, fuzzy and black and yellow. The giant swirling eye was the pattern on its wings, moving so fast they were just a blur. And the beautiful pale glowing light? That was the light of the full moon, shining right through the bee's delicate wings, making them glow like magic lanterns. The bee was not a monster. It was just busy, dancing in the moonlight, pollinating the night flowers, and it buzzed a friendly hello as it flew past them. The monster was just a friend they hadn't met yet. Solomon felt the little bear stop trembling and come out from behind him. The Scarecrow looked down at his furry friend and felt a warm feeling inside his straw chest. It was the opposite of hollow. It was full. It was the feeling of protecting someone. It was not fear. It was courage. Their journey continued, the two friends now walking side by side. They had faced a rumbly grumble and a glowing monster, and Solomon had still not found his fright. But he was starting to think his adventure was about something else entirely. The woods began to change again. The trees grew thick and close together, and a cold, damp mist curled around their ankles like chilly fingers. The path became harder to see, and then they heard the most frightening sound of all. It was a sound that made the little bear's fur puff out and made Solomon stop in his tracks. It was a long, low, mournful howl. It was followed by another, and then another, until the very air seemed to vibrate with a chorus of lonely, terrible howls. The sound seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. It echoed off the trees, making it impossible to tell if the creatures making the sound were right behind them or miles away. The little bear was too scared even to whimper. He just froze, a statue of fear. This was surely it. This sound was truly terrifying. Solomon listened, and for the first time he felt a new feeling. It was a chill that wasn't from the mist. It was a tightness in his straw. His painted smile felt stiff on his face. Was this fear? This cold, alone feeling? He looked at his little friend, who was so scared he couldn't move, and Solomon understood. Fear wasn't a tingly feeling you went looking for. Fear was a cold feeling you got when you felt alone and in trouble. The howls grew louder, closer. Solomon knew they needed to hide, to be safe. But where? He looked around desperately, and then he had an idea. A wonderful, brilliant idea. He might not know how to be scared, but he knew exactly how to be scary. It was his job. He quickly led the trembling bear cub to a small cave hidden behind a curtain of ivy. He told the cub to stay deep inside where it was safe and warm. Then, Solomon the Scarecrow stepped out in front of the cave. He puffed out his straw-filled chest. He stretched his arms out as wide as they could go. He made his face into his best and fiercest scarecrow stare. He became exactly what he was meant to be. The howling stopped. A pack of wolves emerged from the trees, their sleek grey forms moving like shadows. Their leader, a large wolf with intelligent eyes, stepped forward. He saw the strange figure blocking the cave. He saw its wide, unmoving eyes and its giant, outstretched arms, silhouetted against the night sky. It didn't smell like an animal. It didn't move. The wolf let out a low, uncertain growl, but Solomon didn't flinch. He stood tall and silent, the perfect protector. The wolf pack, confused and slightly unnerved by the silent guardian, decided this was not a good place to be. They turned and melted back into the woods, their howls fading into the distance until the woods were quiet once more. Solomon waited until he could hear nothing but the wind and the beating of his own heart. He slowly relaxed his stance. The scary feeling, the cold, tight feeling, was gone. In its place was a feeling so warm and bright it felt like sunshine in his chest. He had done it. He had been brave. He had not found fear for himself, but he had chased it away for his friend. The little bear cub crept out of the cave and nuzzled against Solomon's leg, making a soft, happy sound that was the opposite of a whimper. It was a sound of pure gratitude and friendship. At that moment, Solomon finally understood. He had been looking for fear in all the wrong places. Fear wasn't in rumbly sounds or glowing lights or even in howling in the dark. Fear was the feeling of being alone. And the opposite of fear, the thing that made the cold, tight feeling disappear, wasn't bravery. It was friendship. Having a friend to stand with you, or a friend to protect, made you brave. Friendship was the best protection of all. The Scarecrow and the bear cub, now the very best of friends, walked out of the whispering woods. The first light of dawn was painting the sky in streaks of pink and orange. They arrived at the edge of the field of whispering corn, and there, waiting anxiously, was the little bear's mother. She roared with joy and ran to her cub, gathering him up in a big, fuzzy hug. She nodded her thanks to Solomon, her eyes warm and kind. Solomon the Scarecrow walked back to his post in the center of the field. He climbed back onto it and stretched his arms out wide. The sun warmed his back. The corn whispered its welcome. But something was different. Solomon was no longer lonely. He had a friend now. The little bear cub would visit every day, sometimes bringing his family. And all the creatures of the field knew that the Scarecrow was not just a thing to be scared of, but a kind protector and a wonderful friend. Solomon never did find his scary feeling, and that was perfectly all right with him. He had discovered something 1,000,000 times better. He had discovered that with a friend by your side, even the deepest, darkest woods don't seem so scary at all. What shall we learn about in our next adventure? Will we learn about being kind? Or maybe about sharing? Join us next time to find out. Moral: true friendship provides courage and comfort, making any frightening situation feel smaller and safer